Elon Musk lost $528 billion in 5 weeks. This wasn't a company's stock chart wobbling. It was the fastest, largest personal fortune ever created by one human being, and it started disappearing almost as quickly as it appeared. Nobody in history had ever crossed $1 trillion before. By the time this video ends, more than half of that record will already be gone. By the end, you'll see exactly how a single stock turned one man into history's first trillionaire in one trading session, why he couldn't have cashed out even at the very top, and what actually drove a $100 billion stock up and down almost every week since. And you'll see the number almost nobody paid attention to on the way up, the one the stock is now quietly creeping back toward. It began on June 12th, when SpaceX priced its stock at $135 a share and raised $85.7 billion, after underwriters exercised their full overallotment, the largest initial public offering in history, easily surpassing Saudi Aramco's previous record. The company itself was valued at $1.77 trillion before a single share had actually traded, on demand that topped $350 billion combined from retail and institutional investors, even though SpaceX had posted a $4.9 billion net loss the year before. That single number, $1.77 trillion, made Elon Musk's roughly 38% stake worth more than most countries' entire stock markets, on paper before the opening bell. And the stock hadn't even started trading yet. The real fireworks were still to come.
When trading opened, the stock jumped straight to $150 and kept climbing through the week, hitting a 52-week high of $225.64 within its first couple of weeks. From there, it reversed hard, including one single session that erased 16% of the stock's value in a few hours, until, as of this week, it trades under $124, below where it started.
At its peak, that rally briefly pushed SpaceX's market value above both Amazon and Microsoft, two of the largest, most established companies on Earth, making a rocket and satellite company, for a few days, worth more than either one. So how much of that trillion-dollar swing was actually Elon Musk's own money? Musk personally controls about 4.8 billion SpaceX shares plus stock options exercisable at $8.40 each, roughly 38% of the whole company, and enough voting power, through special shares, to control more than 80% of shareholder votes. When the stock tripled, his net worth peaked at $1.32 trillion, capping a run that had already taken him from $500 billion in October to $700 billion by December of last year.
Then the reversal set in. Bloomberg had him down to $957 billion by June 23rd, 11 days after he'd crossed the trillion-dollar line. Then briefly back over $1 trillion again at the end of that month, before sliding to $913 billion by July 10th, $879 billion by July 13th, and $792 billion by July 18th. SpaceX stock, which makes up nearly 80% of his measured wealth, was driving almost all of that swing. Here's the question almost nobody asked while headlines kept counting his losses week after week, as if it were cash draining out of a bank account. Musk never sold a single share on the way down. So what exactly did he actually lose? The honest answer is that he couldn't have sold even if he'd wanted to. Musk and SpaceX's other insiders agreed to a 366-day lockup at the IPO, legally forbidden from selling a single share for a full year, while other pre-IPO investors were released in smaller, staggered batches starting at 180 days. Roughly 80% of his measured wealth swung entirely on paper, tied to a stock he was contractually stuck holding through every twist, whether it was climbing toward $1 trillion or falling away from one. If the founder was locked out, who was actually moving a stock this large, this fast, almost every week? Mostly, it wasn't people making a judgment call about the company. It was index funds, structurally forced to buy or sell with no opinion on SpaceX at all. Roughly 3 weeks after the IPO, SpaceX was added to the Nasdaq 100, and every fund tracking that index had to buy shares automatically, no questions asked, just to stay in line with the benchmark, a mechanical wave of buying with nothing to do with rockets or satellites. A week after that inclusion, on July 15th, the stock closed below its $135 IPO price for the very first time, its fourth straight losing session. Which brings up the question this whole story has been circling since the opening bell. Was SpaceX ever actually worth $1.77 trillion? Briefly worth more than either Amazon or Microsoft, or was that number always more story than substance? 9 days before the IPO even priced, Morningstar's analysts ran a full discounted cash flow valuation, $611 billion for the rocket and satellite business, plus another $170 billion in probability-weighted value for its AI ambitions, and landed on $780 billion total, less than half of what the IPO would end up pricing in. That's the number almost nobody paid attention to on the way up. Do the math on today's share price and the roughly 13 billion shares outstanding. And SpaceX's market cap still works out to about $1.6 trillion. That's down from the $1.77 trillion the IPO priced in, and down further still from its $225 peak. But still more than double what Morningstar's own analysts said the entire company was actually worth, back when almost nobody wanted to hear it.
None of that makes the stock right or the skeptics wrong. It just shows how much of a trillion-dollar valuation can be story instead of cash flow, especially for a company that lost nearly $9 billion combined across last year and this year's first quarter alone. 5 weeks and $528 billion later, the gap between the story and the spreadsheet still hasn't closed, even after everything that's happened to the stock since June. As of this week, Bloomberg's index puts Musk's net worth at $792 billion, with Forbes' own real-time count landing within a few billion dollars of the same figure a day later. He's still, by a wide margin, the richest person alive on paper. He's just no longer technically a trillionaire. He built more paper wealth in a single trading session than most fortunes make in a lifetime, then handed back $528 billion of it almost as fast, without ever being legally allowed to sell a single share. History's first trillionaire held the title for 11 days. Nobody knows yet if there's ever going to be a second, or how long they'll get to keep it.